Happy Tuesday, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to another episode of The Final Whistle here on the Bama Standard, your number one spot for Alabama football content. We got a lot to discuss. Hit that like, subscribe button. But first, let's go around the horn and say hello to the cast. To my immediate left, the one and only Coach Chris K. James Sr., number 32 on the field. Number one in your hearts. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm ready for Wisconsin week, baby. Let's go, baby. Let's go, baby. We're going up to Madison. I'm ready to strap them on, Matt.
I know you are.
I can run down on one punt coverage. That's about all I got in me.
That's hysterical. And ladies and gentlemen, the other half of the James brothers, our lead recruiting analyst, Mr. Dan James. How are you?
I'm always good, brother. I'm not just the other half, I'm the better half.
Oh, okay. Okay. And ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend. I sent out a Galette's Cup screenshot to this man. Bat signal. He was nowhere to be found. But it's all good. I knew he was somewhere else handling business with the wife. My main man, Mr. Daniel Pettey. How are you, sir?
Great. Great. I love the way you put that. You sent out the bat signal. I tried to wade my way through the madness of the quad from the butt tent, the BUTT tent, where we had a nice cocktail. But, man, great weekend in Tuscaloosa. We had a great time at the Bryant Museum on Friday night. We want to thank Miss Olivia Arnold again for hosting the guys at the Bama Standard. Had a good time. Had a good time at the game, man, and been representing Alabama all over the country. Was on a show in Wisconsin yesterday, letting them know what was coming, and had a good time. So now, but I'm back with my Avengers. I'm back in my comfort zone now with all my fellas.
Speaking of comfort zone, this guy rolls on the danger zone, on the edge. Our defensive trench warrior, Mr. DeBoer himself. The good brother, LaShawn Graves. How are you, sir?
Excellent. I'm looking forward to tonight's show. It's going to be fun. Might get a little fiery, but I'm here for it. Let's go.
Speaking of fiery, the guy who's fiery when it comes to all things, everything around college football, Mr. Bleacher Report, Mr. Around the Table Sports, Mr. Keeper Blaze Hayes, the one and only Ty Hayes. How are you, sir?
Don't forget the disappointer of Grand Alf. Okay?
Disappointer of Grand Alf. Okay.
That's a title that I hold very near and dear to the heart. But feeling good. Last week is over. Time to turn the page to Wisconsin.
Let's turn the page of Wisconsin. And guys,
you got to introduce Justin.
The one and we always shouts out Justin Riley, the one and only tribal leader. But guys, let's shout out our leader, Lambstone Inc., our sponsor for tonight. Please reach out to lambstone.com. They are our big-time sponsors. And, Pettey, could you speak on lambstone.com, please?
Absolutely. Let me tell you a little bit about lambstone.com. Have you ever dreamed of having beautiful natural stone in or around your home? Don't settle for subpar materials. Check out Lamstone Company's selection of natural stone products to meet all of your project needs. Lamstone is located in Aniana, Alabama, is one of the oldest, most trusted stone sources in the state. So contact them today. Tell them we sent you by using the promo code TheBamaStandard, and you'll get 10% off your purchase. 10% off a purchase of stone is a pretty good deal, guys. So check out lambstone.com today, and we want to thank them. They've also helped us get to the Bryant Museum and get our show running. So love you guys. Thank you.
And let's, again, everybody, lambstone.com. And let's shout out the chat. Jimmy Clay, Bama fan, forever, Roll Tide, Tyler Westra, Tough as Nails, RTR, Canopy, thank you. Keith Holcomb, Bama Sci-Fi in the house. LaShawn, Daniel Pettey, Dan James, the crew, Christian Hughes, Angel Garcia, Roll Tide, roll to all the chat. Guys, let's do a quick review of week 1. I'm going to start with this. Shouts out to the California Bears in the house, handling business for everybody. But guys, it was Saturday. Could have been an interesting way. It could have went different ways from Alabama. We could have been on the Notre Dame side. Just want to get your recap, just kind of how this unique college football week 2 went. Let's start with Chris.
Yeah, we found out that things weren't as we thought that they would be. Like, for example, nobody expected Northern Illinois to go in there and beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame. You know, and what else? What was another game? It was another one out there.
Kentucky, South Carolina.
Might have struggled. South Carolina and Kentucky. Wow.
Yeah.
Like, that just blew my mind absolutely. If somebody would have told me that, I said, what year? 1996? I was like, not today. That was crazy, man. It was another game. Penn State and Bowling Green.
They struggled, yeah.
That was wild. So you know, teams that we expected to kind of handle business early, they really didn't. And with us, you know, the crazy thing about our game, y'all, I was never nervous. Like, I just knew at some point the switch was going to turn on. I just didn't know when. I didn't expect it to be late in the fourth quarter, but I never felt like that game was in doubt. Y'all get what I'm saying? Like, I never panicked. I never felt like we were, and I think that's how the team felt also, because they didn't panic. Like, past Bama teams have panicked. So, and you know, kind of fell short of the stick, but that didn't feel like an upset in the making. It felt like a team playing above their heads, and that at any moment, you know, the bottom was going to fall out from underneath them, and that's what happened. So, but I love the way we finished, man. I love the way it was just too many penalties with the offensive line being shuffled before the game. I wasn't expecting Booker to be in there, and it was just too much movement up front. You know what I'm saying? So, and that was really the main thing. The defense it bent, but it didn't break. You know, we only gave up 16 points. We give up 16 points, we can win every game, you know. But outside of that, I felt like I love the way we closed. So hopefully that'll give us momentum heading into Wisconsin. But then hopefully we can't start out slow like we did. We start how we finish, then we'll fare out better.
Got it.
Funny thought real quick, Chris. For those who were at the game, we all honored Nick Saban at halftime. If you weren't there, then you definitely missed out on something that was truly powerful, and my allergies were definitely acting up. So I was nervous throughout the whole game because I just wasn't sure how it was going to bounce for us. But I saw the look of disappointment in Coach Saban's face during the game when we have self-inflicted wounds, the penalties that wipe scores off the scoreboard for us. But it was real funny at halftime, right before they honored him, they played the song for the team to come out in the field, but instead of them, it was him coming through the tunnel, and they're playing Thunderstruck, and he had a pissed off look on his face. I was like, man, he's about to come out here and whoop these guys' asses himself. But then I remembered they're about to honor him. But for a minute there, I thought Coach Saban was about to come in and get people straightened out, and then we cruised to victory. But unfortunately, Chris, that's not the case. We didn't really assure a victory until the last 10 minutes of the game, and we just simply outlasted them with better players. One of which was Jalen Milroe. Shout out to that dude. Looked like a video game on that touchdown run.
Outstanding. Great comment right there. Listen, I was hoping Coach Saban was going to walk to the field and walk straight to the referee locker room and chew those guys out one last time at Bryant-Denny. But you live and you learn. Ty, I want to get your take, just thoughts around college football. Can I ask you a question? I'm going to ask you guys different questions. Ty, give me your take on Oregon. Are they pretenders? Are they contenders? Real quick, give me your take, sir.
Pretenders. And I'm going to tell you something that quite frankly doesn't make sense. How is Oregon ranked above USC? I understand that it's early in the season, right? And I don't necessarily agree with all these early season ranks. But if you're going to rank teams, let's respect the rankings. They beat LSU, who's still a top 20 team. And sure, it was a close victory, Oregon has had 2 close victories against unranked teams, and they're somehow ranked above USC by some arbitrary metric because we think they're better. Well, they haven't shown to be better. USC has the better win. USC's defensive staff is phenomenal. Doug Belk, who Alabama fans are very familiar with, is the secondary coach. Lynn is the defensive coordinator. Matt Entz out there. The one thing I can sympathize with Oregon about is, gentlemen, Jeanty's probably the best running back in college football.
He's legit.
It's week 2 going into week 3, and he is 11 yards shy of 500 yards. We're not even in week 3, and he's halfway to 1,000-yard season. That's insane. That's absolutely bonkers. But Oregon's a pretender, no doubt about it.
Let's go to my main man, Daniel Pettey. It's the team up there in Knoxville that's putting up 50-some points. Defense haven't allowed a touchdown, I believe. Limavea. Tell us about, is that somebody we need to be more concerned with, especially coming off this USF game? Goalish used to be the offensive coordinator at Tennessee. I'm quite sure him and Hyper were texting back and forth, going over tape. Tell me about those garbage trash can workers convention guys up there in Knoxville.
Hey, not going to like what I'm about to have to say. I actually said going into the game, this was our litmus test for Tennessee because Goalish is going to run the same offense as he does. And I was sitting in that stadium watching receivers run wide open in our secondary, and Byron Brown just wasn't hitting them. He was either throwing it long. He did have some pressure on him that caused some of the incompletions, but there were guys wide open. And I looked at my wife and I said, sweetheart, if we're playing Tennessee right now, this game's ugly and not for Tennessee. Like we're playing some catch up football. I do. And I'll say this, man, 3 teams have really been tested so far in the SEC and shown out. That's Texas on the road against Michigan. That's Georgia's slow death of Clemson. And then you had Tennessee go to a neutral site against NC State this weekend. And it was, a 9.5-point spread. And I thought, I'll be honest, I told my Tennessee buddies, I've got a few, believe it or not, that this is going to be a statement game for you guys. When I saw 50-10, I wasn't expecting that kind of damn statement. But it's not just Nico who, man, the kid can throw. His ceiling may be the highest of any quarterback in the SEC right now. That Squirrel at receiver, they've got guys, but it's the defensive line with Pierce. And it's not just him, man. They've got Big O that's a big stud for them. They got a defense. And look, man, I don't like saying this to the Bama Nation. I know it's not this is blasphemy to talk about Tennessee in this way, but man, Tennessee's very damn dangerous. And if we're playing Tennessee last Saturday night, we're not walking out of Bryant-Denny with a W. So but we didn't play them Saturday night. We got to see what they're going to run, and now we know what we got to fix. So that is the good thing, and that's the beauty of football. We now have the blueprint for what's got to get fixed. But yeah, man, Tennessee. And look, it's a long season. Shit can happen. They can fall apart. They are Tennessee. The balls, but they've been snake bit the last 20 years, and Alabama, it seems, find ways to beat them. But they look dangerous as hell to me, man.
Well, thank God we don't play those inside of pumpkin, puke, orange sapsuckers till October.
Shifting to the balls, I want to get Lushan. Lushan, give us your take on, after the game, it was all about Saban during the game, and talk about DeBoer's demeanor. And do you think his mentality, his psyche, he's kind of wired, making these things, making Bama play bad for 3.5 quarters and turn on the light switch knowing he's got Elijah Pritchard? Can you talk about DeBoer and just talk about how you still think this guy is the right fit for this job?
Yeah, definitely. So I've been observing Kalen DeBoer and how he goes about carrying himself. Throughout that whole game, I know the emotions we were all feeling, but if you look at the times they kept zooming in on him, he didn't lose that stone cold look of confidence in his face. No matter what was going on, He might have shown, a little bit of emotion as a coach, but as a whole, it was kind of a stone cold demeanor to me. And to me, it was kind of like, this dude's chill after that, even after the fumble, chill. After the second fumble, he was still chill. And it's like, all right, I'm getting a little bit different vibes of confidence. If this dude is not panicking, like we said earlier, our team didn't panic. If the head coach is not panicking, then you're not going to have panic in the team. And I think that's one of the most important characteristics of this team. Was a lot of stuff bent and almost broken in that game? Of course it was. Most of us know football. We observed that. But the fact that they kept their heads and eventually made it count is what I tried to focus on. Was I upset about some things? Obviously, they need to get better on some things. But from where the stepping stone, from where I think Caleb DeBoer wants this team right now, I think they're in the exact spot he wants them to be. And I think that should scare people, because if Caleb DeBoer is comfortable, my guys, I'm comfortable too.
I like it. Speaking of comfortable, I can't leave Dan James. Dan, you're our lead recruiting analyst. Surprise visit, real quick, rapid fire before we get to our first topic with Ty Hayes. Get on these Wisconsin Badgers. We had a special visitor come to Tuscaloosa, surprise visitor, and a big-time defensive lineman out of Georgia. Could you talk about that real quick before we dive into the Badgers up there in Madison, Wisconsin?
Definitely tremendous, huge surprise visitor on Saturday. Coach Freddie Roach has been doing some tremendous work behind the scenes. I like where we are much better than we were going into the summer as far as Justice Terry goes. Getting him on campus again is tremendous, man. Then he's also announced that he's going to be visiting again on September 28th for the game against Georgia. We're standing well within a puncher's chance. I would say now, I like our chance. We're probably about 40% confidence right now. But, hey, we're much better placed than we were, say, a month ago. Tremendous upside. I mean, he would be a tremendous addition to this class, to say the least. Very physical, active hands, a physical specimen, but anytime you can get a guy like this on campus, you got to love your chances.
Got it. I like that. And Landon Simmons was there as well as the number one safety, his teammate, Braylon Womack was there. Dan, before I let you go, Dawson Merritt took an official visit. He's our number one Wolf on the board to Nebraska to watch them beat Coach Prime and the guys. Give us a little thoughts on that.
Well, it was very close between Alabama and Nebraska, but Alabama eventually won out in the end. His relationship with Christian Robinson, that I would probably say that's what sealed the deal, between us and Nebraska. It was a visit. He stated, it wasn't nothing he was hiding from the staff. That he was always up front with them. They was going to be taking visits, but after the visit, we still like where we stand, coming from his camp.
Got it. Speaking of camp, let's get into the guys up there in Madison, Wisconsin, because this is the Bama Standard. Ty, the floor is yours. Break down your special segment regarding the Wisconsin Badgers.
Yeah, so I've kind of maintained throughout the summer and even this weekend. I mean, we all have a group chat together. I was pretty chill in the group chat, right? Because there was nothing I saw outside of penalties that I was super surprised about. I think part of why USF has had so much success against Alabama is timing. Timing is everything. Last year, it was a monsoon. Tyler Booker nor Jaden Roberts was on the offensive line, and we were still trying to figure out a quarterback situation. This year, you have two offensive linemen banged up. You move your all-star guard to tackle. Brand new guard comes in Geno Vandemark. Perfect timing for a Todd Orlando defense that blitzes and does more exotic blitzes than anybody in the nation and has the highest tempo offense in all of college football, 3 plays per minute. Wisconsin has none of that. They are very well coached. I do like their head coach. I do like a lot of their staff. They got some great pieces. But the thing with Wisconsin, gentlemen, is they don't really, in my opinion, have the personnel to run what they want to run. If we look at what they did at Cincinnati, they ran that 3-3-5, and that's something that Fickle does like to accompany, right? That's one of the things that he always has. They don't really have the personnel to run that effectively right now. So they're in more of a 4-2-5, or they have been. And because they don't have the personnel for their 3-3-5, it's kind of the same story for the 4-2-5. And they're doing the best they can because it's a solid coaching staff. Like I'll continue to say it. They have a solid coaching staff. They do have pieces. There is no doubt about that. Ricardo Hallman, I think, is quietly one of the best secondary pieces in the nation. They've got a really good linebacker. But outside of that, it's Wisconsin. They're going to have some running backs. But, gentlemen, whenever we look at that game against USF, I think some of those rushing stats are a little bit inflated. And what I mean is after Alabama adjusted in the first quarter and a half, they largely were able to take care of the run whenever they stayed disciplined. The times that USF had any success, it's because people crashed the running back. Well, against Wisconsin, if you crash the running back, you got Tyler Van Dyke who's carrying it, and that doesn't exactly scream confidence. So I think Alabama is going to have a bit of an easier out, even though there are pieces on this team that I think are better than what USF has. I just think from a schematic standpoint, football, like fighting, styles make matchups, right? And USF had a great style. And if I may, Chris, my brother in Christ, y'all got beat by Cal. Your head coach has a worse record through 15 games than Brian Harsin. Liberty is actually doing better than when they had Hugh Freeze. Everything is worse that he touches, right? So, you can say he can show us how to recruit. Last time I checked, Bama's ahead of Auburn. And let me know how Deuce Knight, let me know when he commits, man.
And Mississippi State fans tried to warn Auburn fans about hiring Cohen, the athletic director, but Auburn fans know it all. So enjoy New Mexico State this week.
They don't have Diego Pavia, who tried to fight the whole Auburn Tigers team last year and would have won.
I agree. Listen, that Auburn Vanderbilt game will be cinematic. I will tell
Vandy.
you.
Go Troubadours.
Yeah, Vandy.
Troubadours.
They might put that game on Tubi.
Anything y'all want to add to this topic regarding Wisconsin? We know Todd did an amazing job. Dan, LaShawn, Pettey, Daniel, Chris.
It's just I think the speed level is different, man, because those Florida kids, man, they can run, man. It's just the whole state. That's just I coach down there. Even the high school level, it's just different. Florida kids just naturally talented, and the speed. That's what stands out more than anything. I don't think that Wisconsin has the team speed that that South Florida has. And the thing about Wisconsin, we just have to be disciplined. They can slow it down and try to run at you, but I don't think they have enough firepower to really pose a serious threat. So I expect us to jump on them earlier than, especially with it being a 12 o'clock prime time. We have their attention. I'm glad last week happened. So now
that's what I wanted to say.
Wow.
That's what I wanted to say. I just think it was great to have adversity. Challenging team, speed off the edge. Their defensive packages were phenomenal. I think we got the kitchen sink and everything thrown at us early. And it's great to win, but it's great to win with lessons that you can know is going to benefit you on down the road. So
something to fuss about on Sunday in the media.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a speed factor that's what's going to cost Wisconsin against Alabama. I mean, that'll make a difference, but I think it's more schematic. I think they're in an identity crisis offensively. And we talked about this on a show with a Wisconsin guy yesterday. They've got Fickle and now Phil Longo running their offense. Whereas we talk about Alabama, they ran the Nick Saban offense for all these years, and they run Saban's terminology with the offensive line, regardless of who the offensive coordinator was and all that type of stuff. So it's been a transition for Alabama, but even more so, Wisconsin's been one of the most powerful running programs in college football since the days of Ron Dane to Melvin Gordon to Jonathan Taylor. I mean, they're one of the best running programs. And now you got a guy in Phil Longo who is got one of the weirdest spread offenses in college football. It's not even a passing tree. He runs to open. He has receivers run to open space, and the quarterback has to identify the open space the receiver is going to run to. So it completely relies on continuity between quarterbacks and receivers. And when you got a guy in Van Dyke who's just come in, obviously he has no continuity because he didn't come in with these kids. They haven't been together for years throwing passes. So they scraped their offense against South Dakota to go right back to the run because Van Dyke has no continuity with any of these receivers. So it's more of an identity crisis is why Wisconsin, I really don't think poses much of a threat because I don't think they can score. Now, we can get into other stuff on that, what they can do defensively later. We can talk about that part later. I'll let everybody else do that. But my biggest thing is I'm trying to figure out how they can get any offense going when Bama's going to be able to load the box if they don't trust Van Dyke to run Phil Longo's offense. And again, so they're trying to run a square peg round hole. You're a traditional power running team. That's what you've been built for. And now you're trying to run something that don't work and you're already abandoning it in week 2 against small programs. It's not going to work when a team with the defensive talent like Alabama comes in. So that's where I think the no threat comes to play.
I heard that. So listen, it's going to be a good battle. Thanks, Ty, Pettey, all you guys for the breakdown. Now, guys, let's talk about Wisconsin's offensive side of the ball. They have a pretty good running back. Can Chez Mellusi run wild against Alabama's front seven? We know Justin Jefferson won't be there in the first half. So, we're going to have to try to fill in, rotate a lot of guys, and I think this is a great game to do it. So, Alabama front seven versus Wisconsin run game. Can Chez run wild? So let's start with Dan James on this topic.
I think this is a situation where Wisconsin is going to have to establish the vertical passing game to open up the run. Because I think we're going to key on the run game first, which is Wisconsin's best shot, but they don't pose as much of a threat in the running game as the USF did, but definitely their O-line is still trying to find their identity too as well. But our defensive line has held up pretty well against the run. Our front seven, we will miss Justin Jefferson in the first half, but I think we must maintain our gap integrity, and I think we have tremendous success against the run.
So no Ron Dane going through the line on Saturday. Ty, give us your take regarding Wisconsin's run game versus Alabama's front seven, who shouts out to Tim Keenan for winning SEC Defensive Player of the Week, I believe. So doing his thing. Ty.
Yeah, so just like I said earlier with USF, man, a lot of their running success is predicated off of the scheme they have where you have to be disciplined. And one of the things USF does amazing, like their quarterback that he does really well, is he understands the scheme. He knows when to pull it. He had several plays where he kept it in the running back's belly and caused the defense to collapse in, and then he'd yank it and go. Wisconsin doesn't have that, right? They just don't. So Wisconsin's got some good running backs. They also have Tawee Walker out there, who I think is pretty underrated. Really like his game. But I just think schematically, Bama's going to be able to play much more downhill than they did against USF.
Guys, anybody on the panel know, LaShawn, maybe anybody, how good their offensive line is? I know we're talking about the running back and Van Dyke, but how's their offensive line compared to, others, if anybody knows?
Well, I will say that they're probably the best O-line we'll have faced so far this season.
Okay. Yeah, most of those Big Ten guys, always teams have really good offensive linemen.
He's been sacked one less time than Jalen Milroe, and they haven't faced a team that does any sort of exotic blitzing. So I don't think it's that great.
Well, here's the thing about their offensive line. Their offensive line is built for a rushing attack, a power run game. This offensive line is not built for what Phil Longo is trying to do. Thus, the identity crisis. If you're trying to figure out who you are against Alabama, it's going to cause a lot of problems if you don't have all your shit together. That's just plain and simple. Pettey, you mentioned before. I mean, they completely scrapped their whole offensive game plan last week so they could go back to the traditional rushing attack that we're all accustomed to. We might see that again this week if Tyler Van Dyke starts looking like he should be playing Madden instead of playing actual football. So that's the big question.
Great analysis there from Justin Riley. So, guys, let's go to – I know we've been on the safe side right now in comfortable land, but let's go to the danger zone with my main man, Lushawn Graves, as he gives us a breakdown of his special segment, The Danger Zone.
Guys, Saturday night was kind of rough. There's some hard truths that got to be told. There's some people that got to pull up their jock straps and actually play some football this Saturday. And we're going to highlight this in this segment of the Danger Zone. To start off, flat out, the offensive line was probably the most talked up group in the offseason other than the secondary. We heard these guys talk about how they were going to impose their will. We've heard this talk before, and we haven't seen it yet. And I understand we had some mixing and matching, but this week they got to have their ducks in a row. So I hate to say it, but it was just the tackles, but I'm going to put the whole entire offensive line in the danger zone this week. Just because if we don't impose our will like we should impose our will, this could possibly be another throw-up game when it really shouldn't be. We should just go on there and just honestly blow them out the water. And we can. It's not that we don't have the ability, we don't have the bodies. It's not even the schematics. It was just the fact that we had some guys that were inexperienced, their first-time jitters. Now, I'm going to hit this from a different angle. Some people say that, a home game might be some people's comfortable zone. I think it might be the other way around. I think because it was some of their first games in front of a home crowd, there might have been more nerves than, say, they're at an away game and they're getting booed. Because when I was an athlete, I preferred to get booed. That motivated me. I'm not saying that, that played a big game, but I think them being on the road and not having that pressure of being at home in front of Sabanville, as I'm going to call it now, I think them being at home, being away from home, playing a little bit looser will allow our offensive line to, maybe wake up and actually eat. Because if they eat, our running backs are going to run up the score, and that's just flat out because Wisconsin ain't have nothing on defense to stop us. Running game, and especially in the speed category, because on both sides of the ball, we're running away from them at every position. And on the defensive side, I'm going to highlight our defensive tackle. Not our nose guard, because Tim Keenan's my boy and he's a beast. I want our defensive tackles to create absolute havoc in this Wisconsin offense, because we got the bodies to do it. We got two big dudes in the middle that if they get loose and they get going, they're not going to be able to run the ball. They're not going to be able to pass the ball. This quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke, who they're saying Alabama hasn't seen a quarterback like him before. You're right. And we're not worried. 1-0, just like every other Saturday. That's why I'm putting the defensive tackle position in my danger zone this week, because I want to see the resurgence of the dominant defensive tackle position at Alabama. I want that attitude to, okay, we're facing Alabama. I do not even want to go near the middle, because teams have been testing the middle and it's just offensive. We need to get back to that reputation. You want to come in the middle, you won't get smacked by no matter what numbers in the building. So, folks, The danger zone is simple. Our offensive line and our defensive line got to bring it. Yeah, I know it's Madison and it's the Big Ten and it's weak up here, but it's still football and it's still Saturday. Like we've seen crazy things happen. Like if you don't bring your jock strap and your lunch, you might just have a bear come take it. Auburn.
Mic drop. And ladies and gentlemen, anybody want to add to that? Tackling concerns, trenches.
Yeah. I want to add another element to the defense is what was that? Somebody slammed a table or something?
A sneeze.
Oh, no. A quick little thing is see with South Florida, the quarterback added an extra element that you had to account for. So, like they had more than like a lot of times they had more guys than what we could actually pick up. They had more blockers, than what we had defenders that we had inside the box. So he was able to, get some more yards, than normal, as opposed to handing it off to a running back. When you have a quarterback that can run, man, that's just like that opens up a whole nother dimension to your offense, and that's what why Milroe gives so many teams problems with his legs. So, but Wisconsin doesn't present that same type of threat. So I expect us, they're not fancy. What you see is what you get. So I expect it to be a lot easier for our defense to contain their defense. You get what I'm saying? So that's the biggest difference in the offenses or whatnot. But defensively, I expect Wisconsin to be tougher defensively. Maybe not as fast, but sound. But I think that you'll see more Milroe runs this week. I really think you'll see more Milroe runs, and once we get those guys, tired, that's when you're gonna start seeing Jam Miller and Justice Haynes start to gash him a little bit. So, I just think that was the main difference. But yet, even though all the success they had, like I said, we only gave us 16 points, so
yeah,
we'll be fine.
I agree. Anybody else want to Ty, your hands up? Yes.
Yeah, and I know that there's going to be some people out there. I already know this is something Chris would say. Oh, well, they're just going to take the blueprint of USF and blitz you. That doesn't, like, I don't have to tell you guys this. I don't have to tell most people this. That's not how this works. You don't just adopt an exotic blitz package in 5 days and have your guys run it effectively. You will get killed, right? Like, that's something you're either built on or you're not, and they're not. To Chris's point, I think that I could buy into the argument that they're more sound, but do they do things that create chaos for a new offensive line that has multiple guys out that are undergoing a scheme change? I don't think at the same rate that USF does. Like I said, I think USF is just a well-coached team and perfect timing 2 years in a row. Hats off to them. I would love to see them play Auburn so that, listen, Auburn, haven't you lost like your last four, something like 3 of your last 4, something like that? Maryland, New Mexico State, Bama, Cal. Ooh.
Dude, they just lost to Cal. They need to shut up and go
Cal.
sit.
I don't even know Cal's not a football team.
Hey, that score, by the way, it ended up being 21-14, right?
Yeah.
It should have been 21-7 because the refs gifted them with that pass interference call that was one of the most bogus pass interference calls. He had 5 interceptions. It was 21-7.
I got a question for Chris. Name y'all's last FBS victory.
Don't worry, we'll wait.
FIU.
You can name some of those wonderful ladies at Magic City before he can name those FBS victories. There's cinnamon. There's
spicy. Candy.
Hey, y'all are crazy, man.
So, guys,
what's the answer, Dan?
I don't know.
I don't know. So,
maybe
guys,
Mississippi State, maybe
Mississippi State. Wow.
Was that it?
Good one.
Not sure. It's coming up. It's coming up on a year.
They did beat State sometime last year.
Keith Holcomb has comments saying Bama 42-10.
Thanks, Keith.
Super chat.
Keith.
Keith, bringing it, man. We appreciate it, buddy. $9.99.
So, guys, let's go. We're from Ty's special segment to the danger zone. Now, let's go on an island with Chris and Matt. On an island with Chris and Matt and Chris. This is a segment where you flying the plane. Chris is flying the plane. I'm already on the island. I flew a private jet here. So
turbulence.
This is where we discuss wide receiver DBs for Alabama. And I'm gonna let I'm gonna go first. I let Chris go first last week. So I'm going to go first, and I'm going to highlight a receiver and how it affects another receiver that I want to get into. And so, guys, this guy's 17 years old. He has impact college football game, and that's the one and only Ryan Williams in his offense. We took a couple deep shots. Receivers are defensive backs are trying to tug on his jersey initially, just to keep up with him. And I think he's already having a focal impact on this receiving room. And I think we've still been running a very, very, very bland offensive package. The plays seem kind of repetitive. But, this guy just steps up. And Ryan Williams, he has an impact. He gives you a deep threat impact, which opens up the seam for other receivers. But Ryan Williams, this guy is just unreal. I think he's having a recruiting impact. I think he's having offensive impact against defenses. Defenses are going to have to always know where he is lined up on the field, and I think we're going to use that to our advantage. And I think it's going to help spur other receivers that nobody's really, really talking about. And I got to shout out this one receiver, Kobe Prentice. I think he is Mr. Reliable. I think he's not the most talked about receiver. And I think he's just Mr. Consistency for Jalen Milroe, this Alabama offense. And I think he's going to have big games moving forward. Just being able to be a weapon, Mr. Reliable, Mr. Third Down for this Alabama offense. So Kobe Prentice, Ryan Williams, they're just going to continue to get better and better. And my comp for Kobe Prentice, he's kind of starting to remind me of a Marvin Harrison. Not the biggest, but, it was Peyton Manning's kind of go-to guy out there in the Colts. So I think he's going to be that reliable for our offense. He had a couple big catches versus South Florida when we needed him, gave us the spark. So this guy plays with a lot of intensity, passion. Then you couple that with the impact of Ryan Williams, I think that's going to help bring forth so many other receiving packages that teams have not seen, and defenses are going to be like, we didn't study this. How are we going to defend these guys? So I think everything's planning how everything's wanting to go from Coach Shepard, DeBoer, Nick Sheridan, Brian Ellis. So, Chris, I talked to you on the defensive side. You talk about a special defensive player this week on an island.
Yes, the guy I want to highlight is Malachi Moore, and why he's so important and vital to our secondary. It's because when you have young corners like we do, you have to have somebody on the back end that can kind of get them, not only like lined up, but as far as checks are called, that are back there making the checks. You see a formation, they may shift, they may motion, they may give you something else, or they may what we call fastball, hurry up and line up and get set. You got to have somebody back there that's calm, cool, and collected that can get the checks in, the sitting in from the sideline, get the guys, lined up right correctly or whatnot, and get the correct calls out there. So to be able to have a veteran like him, because keep in mind, he started on our 2020 national championship team. So he's like our glue guy on the back end. Saab may be our best player back there at safety, but Malachi is the glue guy, and you got to have a glue guy in the secondary because you don't want to fill a secondary full of young, inexperienced guys, and that's why I think that coach doesn't mind playing so many young guys at corner because he knows he has a guy on that end, back end, that can really kind of be another coach on the field, and so the trust level for throwing a young guy out there is higher as opposed to if Malachi would have left or entered the draft. I don't think that you would have seen as many true freshman corners probably starting this early if you'd have had younger safeties. But so it's very vital to the growth of Xavier Brown and Mbakwe and Zay Mincy, those guys to their development to have a Malachi Moore back there. That would do wonders for them. And as the year goes on, by October, they won't be freshmen anymore. They'll be pretty much like seasoned vets. So shout out to Malachi Moore, man, for being that guy back there on that back end that that gets it. That guy just gets it. He's a program guy. He's a guy that you don't hear about crazy stuff off the field. He's a guy that you always hear about and see locked in. He's an example, not only on the field, but as far as study habits goes, as far as like film habits, he can teach guys how to watch film. He can teach guys how to practice the right way, So he brings a lot of that Saban with him, and that's very invaluable. You can't put a price tag on that. So I shout out to Malachi Moore for being that guy, that glue guy on the back end.
And I was gonna make a joke, but I'm not gonna do that.
What?
Mention it back in. So.
Oh, come on, man. Hey, I found your answer to your Auburn question. Arkansas was the last FBS team that they beat. But let's do the last bowl team that they beat. Somebody else look.
Arkansas, the close brother to applesauce.
And choke job artists. I mean, I was bragging. I was like, "Oh, Arkansas is going to win the game," and choked it away. But it is what it is.
So, guys, beat. Ooh,
that's been a segment of On an Island with Matt and Chris. And since we're flying off the island, it's hot on the island. We got pina coladas, whatever. It's hot out here. I'm going to need a towel to keep myself cool. But what better way to keep myself cool than with a title towel from wetwillsports.com. As you can see in the bottom left, get your title towel at wetwillsports.com. That's wetwillsports.com. Use the promo code STANDARD and get you an amazing, beautiful title towel to wave it around like a helicopter up there in Madison, Wisconsin with the cheeseheads or at the breweries up there. So, guys.
Gotta get those, it's the cheese curds. So
cheese curds. Got to get the cheese curds. Listen. What's that song they like to play?
Jump around.
Yeah. You got to have the title towel to jump around up there.
I was going to say something, but it might be part of my mailbag, so I'm going to hold on.
Oh, and ladies and gentlemen, we have made it to the most anticipated part, one of them, of the show, where we just kind of roast. And I know the panel cannot wait to just jump in on this mailbag. So, Pettey, tell us what you got in the mail via FedEx or UPS.
All right. The fans, as always, kept the questions coming, and I'm here to answer them. So, without further ado, man, let's just hop right in. Bob didn't tell me where he's from. It's just Bob. Bob, you said on your show the last week, the opening kick, that Notre Dame was a lock for the playoffs after beating Texas 8-4. How do you feel about that prediction now, Pettey? Not good, Bob. I'm not gonna lie. I looked at their schedule and I thought, shit, it's a high school schedule. They just beat Texas A&M. I think they got this. They only got to lose to USC and they're in the playoffs, Bob. Didn't think they were going to lose to Northern Illinois, but it is a great reminder that Notre Dame is perennially the most overrated program in college football and will find a way to shit on themselves in every year since Tony Rice and Rocket Ismail walked off that field. So,
Pettey,
not good, Bob. Not good.
I heard that
Other than Auburn.
Touchdown Jesus is in the transfer portal.
Touchdown, Jesus.
He dropped his arms. He doesn't even hold them up anymore.
He's like, oh my gosh.
Billy Christ ain't even up there no more?
No.
He's in the portal.
Tina from Adiana. I've sang the song Yay Alabama my whole life, and I've never seen us send the Yellow Jackets to a watery grave. You think maybe it's time to change that? That's a great question, Tina. I've never seen us send the Yellow Jackets to a watery grave. But my guess is we don't change stuff at Alabama. We won't wear white helmets. We don't change uniforms. And we sure as hell aren't changing a song. And sending the Aggies to a watery grave just doesn't have the same ring.
No.
Biff from Opelika. I also saw your show where you said Georgia and Alabama were mortal locks for the playoffs. How do you feel about that prediction right now? Ooh, that's a good one, Biff. If I would have had your Back to the Future book and could have seen the future 3 weeks in advance, I might have made a different prediction. However, I still think I do think Georgia's a mortal lock. I think Bama's schedule still sets up. Go take care of Wisconsin. Georgia's going to be a nightmare. LSU's gettable, and you got Oklahoma. I think the schedule's still manageable for Alabama. But through 2 weeks, I'm not going to lie. The 4 best teams I've seen in this, I'll say the 3 best teams are Texas. They won on the road against Michigan. You got Tennessee, neutral site, just smoked NC State in a huge statement. And you had Georgia, who slowed death Clemson. My next 2 are probably Ole Miss and Missouri. The reason I don't put them with those top 3 is they've yet to they haven't played the competition. But if you watch the way they played the teams they played, they've annihilated them. And then I've got Alabama right there in that mix. So yeah, Biff, I would change it up just a little bit right now. I've got to see a little bit from Alabama on that offensive line, and I'm going to be honest, the secondary scared me a little bit Saturday night. All right, Phyllis from Ewan. Back at it, Phyllis. Pettey, I heard you were in the stadium this Saturday. Is there any update on the Denny dog? Well, I'm here to tell you, Phyllis, you know what they're doing? It's a lot of false damn advertisement. They have a sign that says Denny dog, so you get all your hopes and dreams up that they finally fixed it. And then you grab 2 of them and you take it back to your seat and you're unwrapped it, and it's just a plain-ass hot dog. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, Phyllis, the Denny dog died 3 years ago. Alabama hasn't won a national title since. Coincidence? I think not. All right. And I did have several questions on this one topic. And it's from Alabama fans that are headed to Madison for the weekend. And it's kind of the gist is, look, we know Alabama fans are kind of too cool for school. We do our own thing. We're Alabama, rah, rah, rah. But we're kind of intrigued by this jump around thing. Seems kind of cool. The answer is yes, Bama Nation. When the 4th quarter kicks in and House of Pain starts doing that whistle noise and they start to jump around, you just let that shit go. You swing that title towel and you jump around with them. Because, man, it is absolutely one of the cooler traditions in college football. How many opportunities do you get to be a part of something like that? Join in with them. Have a good time and jump the hell around. And that's it for Pettey's mailbag. I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Pettey, for your mailbag. Let's keep it going. We got some audience questions. Let's get in the chat. Let's go. Let's get it. First up, Lisa Rawls with the picture. Nick Sheridan, was the USF moment too big for him, or was it simply injured in a non-cohesive offensive line that no legit offensive coordinator could scheme around? Ty, go, and I'll go after you real quick. Rapid fire.
Yeah, no, I don't think the moment was too big. I think that our offensive line was scrambling, trying to figure out where the blitz was coming from. And in several situations, they would fade the protection left or right, and the blitz would come from the opposite side. And so we had multiple 2v3 scenarios. And at that point, there's not much to be done. I just think it's the perfect storm. And shout out to USF for making it happen.
I agree.
Let me chime in on that. You got to understand, people have to understand, man, that we only had one guy that was at his normal position that had experience from last year, from the O-line last year, and that was Jaden Roberts, because Booker had to slide out the left tackle, which brought in what's my guy's name from Michigan State?
Vandermark.
Gino.
Vandermark Gino at left guard. That slid Booker out the left tackle. Then you had Brailsford is still finding his way, with those guys. And then you had Formby at right tackle. But notice when they brought in Elijah Pritchett, it just took off from there. Maybe we find our right tackle and we get Proctor back for Georgia. Now you're cooking with fish grease, with hot grease, because you'll have Jaden Robinson and Booker back. So I'm not expecting our O-line to look like how it looked last week against Georgia. And that's what a lot of people got to misconstrue. I still expect us to beat Georgia. Just simply off the strength of, I don't think they can stop Milroe.
And I will say this, Ms. Rawls. Listen, I think we're only running about 10%, maybe 8% of the playbook. So a lot of the same plays, like you're only gonna get so much right now. So, and like Chris and Ty said, Proctor's not out there. Formby's getting experience. Pritchard was hurt. Booker's at left tackle. Vandermark's at left guard. So Jaden Roberts is the only key guy who's kind of there. And so we're running a vanilla base, but that's why I say I think it benefits us in the long run. And Alabama's not going to show their whole hand, not before Kirby Smart. I think Bama fans want them to go all in, put the chips in on the poker table. That's not smart when you got Georgia coming to T-Town, you got the Vols, you got Missouri, you got South Carolina. Listen, everything is gonna be everything's happening for a reason. Chris?
And Law is not even being factored into the game plan. Think about Kendrick Law, most explosive player, hasn't even been factored into the game plan. Then you get Ryan Williams, who probably gets 3-4 balls a game. Come on, man. Georgia, they're gonna go to Williams, they're gonna go to Law, they're gonna go to Prentice. We haven't even utilized our tight ends. So and then Justice Haynes. Come on, man. Y'all see how he is when he gets to cooking, man. When he's determined, like that touchdown run showed me a lot, because he said when he touched it, he said, I'm gonna score. He was determined to score on that carry, because anything after that, we were gonna take a knee. He was determined to score on that play.
Yeah.
That tells us one thing, and you know what that one thing is? We need to run the ball. It does, I don't want to hear people saying we were vanilla and everything. I hear that. But I'm so tired of teams dictating to us because we're so conservative with our play calling. We're so, we let teams dictate to us rather than force their hand. We got to force teams to stop the run first.
I agree.
If we do that, that was the only difference in, we allow Pritchett to go in and do what he does best, and that is run block. He was able to go in and maul guys. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, Justice Haynes, yeah, he turned the little run into something big. That because, he wasn't getting enough touches. So he was trying to make the most of his few touches that he was getting. I think we should definitely run the ball more, make teams stop the run first to open up the pass.
I agree. I totally agree. I'm always for running the ball. I feel like it balances the offense game plan. So, guys, let's get to our next check from Salik J. Chris, what is your take on Red Morgan? It seems like the last 2 games, receivers are getting behind him consistently.
Y'all have to remember, Red Morgan isn't the starter. It's Devontae Smith. He's the starter. Red Morgan's just getting experience. You get what I'm saying? He's getting they're rotating them. It's just freshman mistakes, man. Just simple stuff like cutting out the receiver, rerouting them, getting your hands off him. Don't let them stay square. Don't let them get a free release. This stuff, it's just simple, fixable things. It's not like he can't do it, but it's a reason why Devontae Smith is the starter.
Yeah. Next question. Ryan Flanagan says Alabama can't beat Tyler Van Dyke's Badgers on defense. Alabama can't beat Tyler Van Dyke's Badgers on defense. Ron Burgundy.
Anybody worried about Tyler Van Dyke. Did y'all see him
Who?
at Miami?
Yeah, he
I was
got
about to say, we
in
played them
game
before.
at Miami. Yeah,
Yeah.
he got garbage time when we played Miami.
Everybody worry about Van Dyke, man.
Yeah.
Is he trying to? Were they trying to say Bama's defense can't beat Tyler Van Dyke? Like Bama can't. I was trying to read broken English there, and I think that maybe what the hell they were trying to say is that
They put the question mark at the end, and I was like, "I'm Ron Burgundy."
I'm not sure what were they trying to say?
maybe Van Dyke has the chance to take advantage of the secondary, but I really doubt it. Since they don't even trust him to brutalize South Dakota secondary, but we'll see.
USC be ahead of Tennessee in the polls.
Oh, good question.
I don't think so. And we were talking about this the other night. I think that Tennessee or USC should be ahead of Penn State and Oregon. But Tennessee smoked NC State, and wasn't NC State ranked?
Like 21st, 22nd,
24.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
24th,
understand that the poll right now is valuing LSU more, but Tennessee smoked them.
Yeah.
Like smoked them. So
Hey, but USC, that's the best I've seen USC in the last how many years, Ty?
Oh, Lynn looks fantastic out there. He still needs the personnel, but like the physicality they're playing with is exponentially better than it was last year, no question.
Anthony Lucas and that D line, man, is something serious. Bear Alexander, Anthony Lucas.
They're smacking dudes, yeah.
Our recruit now is Dan. With the success of USC's, newfound defense, do we have any threat of losing some of those potential modern day guys out there to USC?
I don't think it has any effect right now. Who was it? That was Chuck McDonald. No, he has no real interest in USC. Abdul Sanders. I think it was more of an Alabama-Tennessee battle there. So no, I would say no when it comes to USC and Alabama commits from modern day.
Got it. Thank you, guys. Thanks for those questions. The chat, you guys are amazing. Lisa Rawls, Salik J, thank you all for those questions. Guys, let's get to the predictions and players of the game. Let's go rapid fire. So I'm going to go with Mr. Pettey, then Dan, Ty, Lushawn, Chris. Pettey, you're up first. Rapid fire predictions and players of the game.
27-6 or 24-6 and players of the game, Jam Miller, and I'm going with Jihaad Campbell on defense.
Let's go, Dan.
Yes, they're pretty long mountain line of thinking, Pettey. I'm gonna say 28-7 Bama. Players of the game, Jalen Milroe and Jihaad Campbell.
Let's go, Ty.
42-7. Players of the game, Keon Sabb, and give me Kendrick Law for a breakout game here.
Lushawn.
Can't hear you.
Mute.
Give me 52-6. Bama. Offensive player of the game, Justice Haynes runs wild for 3 tutties. Defensively, LT Overton wreaks absolute havoc.
What happened to Matt?
Who was next? Chris James, before you fall asleep over there.
Hey, this is how I look, dude. At this point, Bama 41, Wisconsin 9. 3 field goals. Players of the game, Jalen Milroe offense, because he's just Jalen Milroe. He's going to win it with his legs. And defensively, I am going with Jihaad Campbell. With the way they're going to try to run the ball, he will have double-digit tackles and a forced fumble. And this is going to be a game we get a defensive score.
You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I think y'all who picked a linebacker, that was probably the pick based on scheme. I'm just betting that Sab comes up with an interception in this game when they do try and score. But schematically, I think y'all are right. Ladies and gentlemen, another Tuesday night in the books. And my final word before we get out of here is, Chris, Bama has allowed less points in 2 games than Auburn gave up to Cal. Rest on that. That's about all I got to say. Any final words?
Yeah, hey, let's talk about some of the other shows coming on the network. Don't forget, tomorrow night at 6:30 Central. I'm surprised I got it right. I've been effing this up all week. We got the Crimson Dynasty with C.C. Payne, Hannah Stevens, and the man in the middle, Dan James. And then right after that, stay on for Teague's Take, man. One of the best breakdowns in the entire network. You got George Teague that will be breaking down game film of Wisconsin and showing you exactly what's coming. And then Friday night, right going into it, you got the Red Zone with myself, Smoke, Gerald Dixon, and Hannah Stevens. And then on Saturday, as soon as the game ends, tune into the Bama Standard Network for the postgame show. And then on Sunday, you got Sunday night Talking Bama with man JT and all the boys, Marshall, the gang. I know I'm missing one right now, and I'm sorry. And then coming back on Monday night, we got a huge week coming up next week for Georgia. We're going to have Tyler Siskey on Monday night with the opening kick. And then we're going to have George Foster, former offensive lineman, NFL Denver Bronco right tackle from the Georgia Bulldogs on Friday night. So, man, we got tons of crap coming on the network. I had to give that because that's my show. That's my shout out. That's the follow the cast for me. But don't miss the shows this week, and that's how you can find me. Let's melt it around to the rest of the guys so we can find you guys. Ty, where can we get you? I'll throw it around. We'll start with Ty, and then we'll go Chris, and we'll go Lou, and then we'll go Dan, and then we'll roll Tide and get the heck on out of here.
Yeah, you can find me at Around the Table Sports. You can find me on Bleacher Report. You can find me here. You can find me on the SEC Connect. You can find me just about anywhere.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook at Chris K. James Sr., on X at Coach Chris James, and on Instagram at final_whistle_Chris.
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, Lucian Graves. You can find me on X, Rolush241. And as always, you can find me here on Tuesday nights, chopping it up about the greatest football team coached by the greatest football coach in the land.
Hey, James.
Hey,
Man.
you catch me on X.
Oh, you done, Lou? My bad, man. I thought that was.
I'm sorry. Were you done, Lou?
Okay. All right, go Dan.
Okay, yeah, you can find me on X at the Final Whistle Dan. You catch me on this channel Tuesday nights right here, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. The Final Whistle with my Avengers. You catch me every Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central, the Crimson Dynasty. And you catch me on Instagram, Dan James IV. And y'all make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe button.
That's right. Hit that like and subscribe. You can follow me at X, Pettey_Daniel. Facebook, it's Pettey. And then all the shows I told you about Monday, Friday nights, and then most importantly here on Tuesday night with the guys at the Final Whistle. But, man, it's game week. We got Wisconsin. We're headed to Madison. We're going to eat some cheese curds, drink some beer, do some jumping around, guys. Let's get pumped. Let's do this. So, and no better way to end this show than on those final 2 words.
Roll
Tide.
Roll dadgum Tide.
That's the bottom line. Why? Because Stone Cold said so.